You ever get a letter so absurd, so smug, that you have to check if you're on some hidden camera show? That's exactly how it started for me. Imagine I'm standing in my own backyard, coffee in hand, when I get told my shed is illegal. Not a warning, not a hey neighbor, let's talk. No, I get Belinda Thornberry, clipboard queen of the HOA, practically swinging her $300 highlights in my face like a badge of authority telling me to tear it down or fork over $500 a day in fines. I had permits, city signed off, HOA, approved inspections done the whole 9 yards. Didn't matter. She waved my paperwork in my face like it was garbage. Turns out rules changed according to her anyway, and my shed was suddenly public enemy number one. But here's the thing, that little 8 by 10 shed, that wasn't just a building. That was the last place left that felt like Sarah, my late wife. Her rose clippers hung on the wall, our Christmas ornaments tucked in boxes, her gloves still carrying the faintest trace of lavender lotion. That shed was where her memory lived on, and Belinda wanted to wipe it off the map. For what a power trip. So let me ask you, if someone tried to bulldoze the last bit of someone you loved, what would you do? Ever deal with a Karen like that? I'd love to hear your stories, honestly. Now, I know how revenge stories usually go, but trust me, you're not ready for this one. The morning after that illegal shed ultimatum, I tore it down. But what I built next, let's just say, when Belinda saw the finished product, her face, man, it was priceless. You ever see a person realize all at once that they picked the wrong target? That was Belinda. Maybe I should back up. My name's Dan, and a few years ago, after cancer took Sarah, I moved to Willowbrook Estates, hoping to escape the nightmare start fresh. 68 houses, manicured lawns, a community pool. It looked like a place where a broken down structural engineer could put the pieces back together. Sarah always wanted a garden workshop somewhere she could teach kids pottery or mess with flowers. I figured, why not honor her memory, restore some bikes, build a bench or two, maybe even teach woodworking like she always nudged me to do. Routine became therapy, coffee sawdust, a little motor oil. That shed was simple, just enough space for her things. Rose, clippers, clay pots stacked like Hope Christmas angels with their ceramic faces keeping watch. I did everything by the book, permits contractors every form and sign off. 4 months before I even broke ground, I had it in writing. Inspector Rodriguez even told me it was textbook compliance. But, Belinda, she took one look and decided my grief was an eyesore. You ever meet someone who just oozes control? That's her. Blonde bob, fancy athleisure. BMW cleaner than most operating rooms. She runs this neighborhood like a pocket-sized dictator. First time she confronted me, it was an ambush. Poolside, I'm reading, and here she comes. Dan Sweetie, with that honey-dripping voice that stings a little. That adorable shed is really impacting our property values. She tried to pull the rules evolve, move like suddenly my valid permits didn't count. She actually looked down at my old truck with this look, like it was contagious. Evening rolls around, and my neighbor Chuck comes over with a couple beers. Buddy, you just painted a bullseye on yourself, he says. She's run off 3 families in 2 years. She finds something on everyone. I figured, no big deal, my paperwork's solid. But Chuck, he knew better. Didn't take long for the harassment to start. Early morning, I hear gravel crunching. Rodriguez again. Dan, I hate this, but someone reported your shed for violations. He didn't have to say, who his eyes flicked toward Belinda's palace. He measured, checked permits, shrugged. It's all good, but I get complaints from her address every week. That night, I stood out there beside Sarah's shed, feeling something inside shift. This wasn't about the shed. This was about power. A woman who saw a grieving widower as an easy mark. It was like I could hear Sarah's voice. Dan, some bullies only understand one thing. She had no idea who she was dealing with. An engineer with 30 years of municipal code under his belt and nothing left to lose. Sure enough, a violation notice showed up: $500 fine, 30 days to remove unapproved exterior modifications. Same shed she'd approved months earlier, now transformed into a nuisance. I sat there drinking from Sarah's old world's best gardener mug, thinking, this is it. She's trying to erase what's left of her from my life. That's when I remembered something from my law studies estoppel. If you rely on an authority's approval, they can't just yank it back. I dug out every scrap of paperwork. Permits emails state, law, HOA bylaws. Buried in section 12.3, if both city and HOA sign off, a structure is grandfathered in, forever protected. Ironclad. But here's where it gets good. As I'm combing through old records, I notice something off about Belinda's own house. Her deck massive, fancy, the kind you host wine nights on, never got a permit. Not city, not HOA. She's been the loudest rule enforcer while sitting on the biggest violation in the neighborhood. So, Monday morning, I file my own complaint. Rodriguez calls, barely holding back a laugh. Dan, her deck's been unpermitted for 6 years. The sound of him chuckling while the birds chirped outside. Sweetest music I'd heard in ages. Then Chuck shows up again, beer in hand. She's losing it, Dan. Heard her through the fence screaming about harassment. Next day, Belinda herself shows up at my door. Gone was the sweetie act. She looked tired, makeup smeared, hair a mess. Dan, we need to talk about your illegal deck. She meant hers, but couldn't admit it. I told her straight. Grandfather needs original permits. Yours doesn't have any. She got desperate, voice cracking. Please, my husband doesn't know I built it without permits. If the city gets involved, and there it was. All the power, all the bullying, just a mask for her own panic. I told her the deal: withdraw your complaint, fix your own violation. Leave me and my shed alone, or else Rodriguez processes your deck the same way she wanted him to process mine. She left in a huff, probably another violation peeling out like that. But she wasn't done. She called an emergency HOA board meeting, spinning new lies. Now my shed was a security risk, and get this, a threat to neighborhood kids. The character assassination was on. I mean, accusing me of being a danger to children because I store Christmas angels and gardening tools. That was her last desperate move. Monday night, the meeting's packed. 40 people crammed in air thick with tension and burnt coffee. Belinda's up there in her power blazer, running a PowerPoint of drone shots of my shed, dramatic red arrows pointing like I'm building a missile silo. She claims my shed is full of unknown materials. Chuck's in the third row, shaking his head. Mrs. Palmer looks scared. Mike Torres just scowls. When she starts talking about legal retaliation and attacks on volunteers, I stand up. Belinda, you mean when you begged me not to report your unpermitted deck silence? Her face flushes. That's taken out of context, she sputters. I pull out my phone, ready to read Rodriguez's report on her deck. Suddenly, neighbors are on their phones looking up property records. Belinda's not done. She's got a folder full of complaints. Health Department for contamination. Fire. Marshal for unpermitted flammables. Even the IRS for unreported business income. She's trying to bury me in bureaucracy. I'm sitting there, heart pounding, realizing she's not just trying to get rid of my shed, she wants to ruin me. Full-on war. Next morning, government trucks line up on my street. Health inspector, fire marshal, building code, like a bad parade. They poke around my shed, find nothing but old potting soil and newspaper. They actually apologize for wasting my time. But when Rodriguez comes by for the electrical hazard, I just laugh. Rodriguez, this shed has no electricity. He shakes his head, then tells me Belinda tried to bribe him cash, $500 for a quick inspection, or to find something wrong. She wanted him to manufacture violations. That's when my brain shifts. I've been playing defense. Time for offense. I ask Rodriguez to document every bribe, every false complaint. He grins. Already started. Attempted corruption of city officials is a felony, Dan. That night, I sit on the deck, beer in hand, Sarah's photo beside me. Honey, I say it's time to stop playing by her rules. Time for engineer rules. I call my lawyer, my buddy Chuck, in the city planning office. If Belinda wants war, I'll show her what I can build when someone threatens my wife's memory. Underground. Legal. Untouchable. Then comes the bombshell. My lawyer Janet calls Dan Belinda's whole HOA presidency is invalid. She never had a legal election, 23% turnout needs 60%. Every fine, every rule, every decision for 6 years, none of it's legal, and she's been paying herself tens of thousands in administrative fees. Plus, she owes nearly $90,000 in back taxes. The whole reason she targeted me, she was protecting her own criminal operation. My shed was just a distraction from her embezzlement. I'm not just another victim, I'm a threat. So I go big. I find out my property is still technically zoned for agriculture. Agricultural exemptions allow underground workshops, storm shelters, storage, none of it subject to HOA rules. I call Chuck at 6 a.m. I need Rico's crew. How deep can you dig, Rico? The excavation guy just grins. This isn't a basement. This is an underground mansion. We file separate permits for every part, storage, shelter, utilities, so no one sees the whole plan. Neighbors get involved. Electrician kid offers to wire it. Mrs. Palmer brings cookies. Mike lends his truck. Even Patricia Belinda's former spy switches sides. Watch for our team now, I tell her. Construction starts the day Belinda leaves for Hawaii. Excavators roar to life. By 8 a.m., there's a crater in my yard. Concrete trucks come rolling in, 4 of them. Every step by the book. Noise complaints. All within legal hours. Inspectors, I hand them a stack of permits thicker than Belinda's rulebook. Then comes sabotage. Fencing sliced sand, in the mixer equipment wrecked. The timing matches exactly with Hawaii's time zone. I hire Martinez, retired military, to guard the site. Next, Belinda offers to pay neighbors' legal bills to file fake complaints. Most refuse, except one who calls to tell me she tried. 3 weeks and my underground fortress is a reality. Concrete walls, professional. HVAC, enough power to run half the block. Final inspection, everything passes. Then, the real showdown, Belinda returns from Hawaii and in front of the neighborhood tries to play the victim. Detective Palmer steps forward, evidence in hand, recordings of bribery, false reports, embezzlement. She tries to deny, but then under pressure, she cracks. She admits it all right there. No legal authority paying herself, running the neighborhood like her own fiefdom. I look her in the eye and say, I'm not blue collar. I'm the guy who built half the bridges in this county. And the shed you tried to destroy, I replaced it with something you'll never touch. Handcuffs click. Neighbors cheer. Chuck raises a coffee mug. Dan, that was beautiful. The workshop becomes the heart of the neighborhood. I teach kids woodworking in Sarah's honor. Chuck's wife replants the rose garden. Mike parks his RV wherever he wants the HO. A finally serves the community instead of terrorizing it. Belinda gone, facing charges, mail fraud, embezzlement, bribery. Lost her house, her license, everything. Patricia now runs workshop safety. My lawyer drops by with good news. Belinda's doing prison time, and other neighborhoods want me to consult on cleaning up their HOAs. You know, sometimes the best revenge isn't loud. Sometimes it's concrete and steel laughter echoing underground, and neighbors finally at peace. I sit in that workshop, Sarah's photo on the wall, surrounded by kids learning to build things that last. We did it, honey, I whisper. So let me ask you, where's the line? When does standing up to power become its own kind of justice? Ever had to take on someone who thought the rules only applied to other people? I'd love to hear your take. What would you have done? Tell me about the battles you fought and the victories that mattered. Sometimes the quietest answer is the most powerful one.